Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So this will be the second video summing up the story completion livestream. This one will be going over all the lore and story they talked about. I saw the guest list beforehand, and it included the three main writers of the three arcs and Yoko Taro, so I was like, oh, maybe there will be interesting tidbits, and they did not disappoint. I'm hoping I remember everything they said for this video. The developers collected lore and story questions from users, and they answered a lot of them in the livestream, but they said that there's still a lot more to reveal. Slide 1, we got a question about Lavanya. This user asks, can you explain how Lavanya, his race, and his world work? The head writer of Girl Monster explained that the cockroach monsters are brought into being when humans die with a great urge or obsession in them. He brought up the examples in Lavanya's Dark Memory story and Secret Stories. On becoming a monster, they lose their memories of their previous human life, but they have an unexplainable desire to become human, or return to human. As for the world they come from, it's a wild, lawless place, which does and does not really explain it. Slide 2 is about this character that we meet, kind of just walking through the cage. A user asked what is up with this character. The head writer explained because of a bug or error, he was kicked out of his scarecrow as a boy. 4 months went by and he became an old man. There may be others like him, but we don't meet them. They didn't have a lot to say about this guy. Alright, slide 3 and 4 are about Argo. They spent a lot of time talking about him, which I loved. I'm actually writing a script for a video on him now. Hopefully I get it out this weekend. They said something very interesting about him, and that is, he is the only sinless, playable character in the game. You might be thinking, what? But he leaves his family at home. The writers, including Yoko Taro, do not consider that a sin on a level with murder, wrath, dishonesty, war, etc. I talked about this in a People World reaction video, but in Japan, absent fathers are common. And I'm not talking about like abandoning the family. Many fathers still support the family, but are physically and emotionally distant. Some fathers even stating child rearing is a woman's job. Not saying that I support this, just saying that it's common here. But I think that informs why the writers here consider Argo as sinless. And if that is the explanation why Argo does not have an abyssal version, I can live with that. That makes enough sense to me. Another interesting tidbit, Argo was the first character Yoko Taro wrote for the game. But it would be more accurate to say that Yoko Taro wrote Argo in a vacuum because he felt he would be a tough character to work into an existing game, and then Nier Reincarnation came later in a shape that could accommodate Argo. And they were all joking about Reincarnation being born from the Argo character. And then they also shared an early draft of Argo's story written by Yoko Taro. I'll quickly translate here. This is a story about a man who climbs mountains. And in order to climb mountains, he will overcome any hardships. And when he is climbing, he meets beasts. He defeats the beasts and he continues to climb. Partway through the climb, he sees a beautiful woman in trouble. But he ignores her and continues to climb. And then when he finally climbs the mountain, he sees his family there. On seeing his family, he gets the resolve to go down the mountain and then reunite with his family. But at that point, he wakes up and he realizes that everything that he was seeing up to then was a vision, and then he dies. So yeah, definitely some similarities to the story that we see in the game proper. Alright, slide 5, they got a lot of questions about Henan and Yuzuki from Sun and Moon. This slide is asking, can you explain Henan and Yuzuki's world and setting? The head writer for that arc said that they were trying to strike a balance between real and fantastical. If the story were too real, it wouldn't be Nier, and if it were too fantastical, it wouldn't be believable. I think they hit a good balance, even if I don't believe any of it. But that is related to, the true identities of these characters. As for the setting, it was revealed that their mother came from a wealthy family, which is why Yuzuki lives in a nice high-rise, while Hina lives in a rundown apartment. Slide 6. Someone asked when Henan and Yuzuki's parents got divorced. It was revealed that it was around when the children entered high school. And about their costumes, the developers confirmed that from the beginning, the two were designed as pairs, with similar elements or themes in their clothing, and then even poses meant to mirror or complement each other. And then third slide on Henan and Yuzuki. There are just many more questions about Henan and Yuzuki, and I was pleasantly surprised to see them gain so much popularity since their introduction. I'm sure that many people felt as I did, but when I first saw them, I was like, oh, some everyman high school characters, whatever. But I got through the story, and I ended up really liking them. And I started to see more and more fan art of them on Twitter. A lot of it was incestuous, of course. But it's been cool watching them, and I bet the developers have enjoyed watching them gain in popularity too. This was not from the live stream, this was just someone's theory that I saw on Twitter. But they were wondering if Hina and Yuzuki, as we see them in the cage, were programs written by Mama to assist her in protecting the cage and opening the way to Earth. Very interesting, and it would explain a lot. Maybe they are based on like the Dark Memory story characters, but their modern-day Tokyo high school life is something imagined and then kind of input into their minds so that these programs think they're human. I don't know. Alright, and then slide 8, talking about Recollections of Dusk stories for the Sun and Moon characters. The head writer revealed that they exist, but in unfinished form. He has the ideas in his head only. I've long said that the Sun Moon characters don't need the Recollections of Dusk in the same way that the Girl Monster characters do, because the Sun Moon arcs wrap up during People World. But the head writer said that the potential RD stories would be supplemental stories about like their past, for example. He said Hina and Yuzuki's RD stories would be about their junior high school days when their parents were growing apart. And Priyet's story would be about how she became this cat monster. I thought that was covered in Priyet's secret stories, but I guess not. But yeah, RD stories do exist for the Sun Moon characters, but they will serve a different role from the Girl Monster RD stories. The head writer wants to get these stories out somehow. As a last resort, he'll just put it up on his Twitter account. Yoko Taro was really pressuring him to do that. However it gets released, if I catch wind of it, I'll try to translate them and share them. Okay, slide 9, we see 10H. This user asks, how does 10H know about different timelines? And it's because Pod 006 told her. And how does Pod 006 know? It's because Accord told her. Accord can skip across timelines, and her job is a weapons dealer. But what she's really doing is preserving the memories that are in the weapons. She is preserving humanity through that. And Accord uses the cage as a storage space for many of her weapons. On the topic of Accord, they were unclear about whether Accord would appear in the future. A hint about her may appear at the end of Reincarnation. And also, this is their first time showing this artwork by character designer Yoshida Akihiko. Okay, slide 10, 2B. This is also new artwork. Same as before, but without the goggles this time, also by Mr. Yoshida. On the topic of different timelines, this user asks, after which Automata ending does Nier Reincarnation continue after? And they answered, ending E. And I was like, dang, they answered that? There was a lot of speculation of like, is Reincarnation a different timeline from Automata? Is it on the Dragon Guard timeline? People were looking at the Earth, wondering if the position was consistent with what we knew before. And then what about 2B's sword in the bunker? But the answer is yes, it is the same as Automata. Very pointedly, they mentioned they were sad that no one asked which replicant ending Reincarnation is on, and then they refused to talk any further about it. They'll talk about it someday. I have to assume ending E there as well, the one added for version 1.22. And then regarding 2B's sword, the writers explained that with the bunker and moon base damaged/destroyed, data was leaking and buggy, putting stuff where it didn't belong, so we shouldn't read too much into 2B's sword being in that place, and they admit it was just an excuse to get 2B into the scene there. Fine by me. Alright, slide 11, asking about Mama and Pod 006. why she wears a cloth in the cage. They said it's just to make her more approachable than like looking as a pod. More interestingly, they revealed Carrier's true identity as Pod 012. Again, pods with lower numbers are older models with personalities closer to human, which explains why Mama and Carrier are so much closer to human than, say, Pod 153. And then they said Black Mama, Akasan, and Papa only ever existed as Data, which makes me so sad. I love them, but it does explain why they didn't appear in People World. I have similar feelings about Chatty from Armored Core 6, just heartbroken. How does From Software get such good voice performances from their English-speaking actors? How? Okay, slide 12, they go into some of the inspirations behind the names, and I was like, oh, this is cool too. But Fio and Lavanya are names from Johannes Kepler's 1608 novel Somnium. Leon is from the Greek word for tomorrow. Fudenise, which is Gale's name in the Japanese, is a mashup of friendly and breeze from the English words. Demas comes from Demas, which is the Greek deity representing fear in battle. Akiha is the reading of her name's kanji characters, which means scarlet leaf, and Argo is named after the ship used by Jason and the Argonauts to get the Golden Fleece. Then we have 063Y and F66X. The Y and X in their names refer to their sex, as in their chromosomes. And then under their names are their full names. After the RV, the first number corresponds to their version, and the second number corresponds to how many times they have died. I was expecting 063Y to have died more times than that, honestly. Lars and Griff are from Wrath and Grief, respectively, and Noelle is a girl's name containing EL, which means of the gods in Greek. I tried to look that up, but it wasn't working. I don't know what that means. Okay, third slide of names. Hina is derived from the sun. Yuzuki is derived from the moon with the kanji characters. Sadiu is modeled after the friendly French greeting, meaning a farewell. Marie is the name of the wife of the conductor Carl Nielsen, who wrote the Helios Overture, about the rising and setting of the sun over the Aegean Sea. Yuri is from Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, which is dedicated to an Austrian countess and former piano student named Yuri. Udil and Sarafa's names are taken from Arabic words meaning to illuminate the shadows and to leave the night, respectively. And then here we have a couple more names. Users ask what are the names of Akiha's partner and Gale's sister. As I say in my Fatalism and Free Will video, I interpreted Akiha's partner's name as Ai, or Indigo. That was the name of the Secret Story chapter that features her. And while her actual name does use that kanji character, it's that plus the word round, so it changes the reading. Her true name is Ranmaru. That works because Ranmaru was raised as a boy, and that is a masculine name, but it still has the kanji for indigo. And then Gale's sister's name was revealed elsewhere. If I have the time and motivation, I'll look it up later and then talk about it later. And here someone asked, what does Sif mean? Many of Noelle's spears are named for this. It is an abbreviation of Sister's Fangs. And they had another slide laying out some history of Noelle and kind of like events and stuff related to her. But I won't go over it here. I want to do both an overall history of the Nier universe and a Noelle analysis video, since I think she's misunderstood. And I'll talk about the timeline in one or both of those videos. Alright, and then to end the live stream, they had a surprise trailer, so let's look at that. Let's talk about it afterwards.
白い光がどこまでも広がっている。走って走ってたどり着いた場所。
Okay, that is wild. I still remember when I first saw Fio and Lavanya in the first People World trailer. I was filled with so much relief and happiness. As much as I love the Sun Moon characters, Fio and Lavanya are extra special. And then we saw their actual story and I was let down. They basically just repeated what we already knew of them. And then Fio and Lavanya kind of got downgraded from main character status. That was kind of sad to see. I still love People World overall, don't get me wrong, but seeing this new trailer, I'm getting those feelings again. I'm pretty sure it will not let me down this time. But here, it looks like Pod 006, Mama, is still talking to her passengers, I guess you could call them. One thing I noticed immediately about the trailer is that none of the other characters appear. Is this going to be Fio, Lavanya, and Mama only? I don't think so, but that is the impression that this trailer gives. Maybe there will be another trailer with more characters as we get closer to the end of the month. And then here the early tagline is repeated, all prayers lead to the cage. But I thought the cage was destroyed and they're on Earth now. What's going on here? And then here they are in a server like in Replicant or Automata. Is this the Replicant tree database? Or maybe this is the tower at the end of Automata? In the overlooked 10H story, they talked about special data backed up on Earth in a base built by machine lifeforms, so they're probably referring to the tower. It talks about humanity's struggle in the old world. And then the line over the top reads, "The prayers become light and shine on the road the girl travels." I hope this does not mean what I am afraid it means. I've been carrying this thought for 2 years, and I don't even want to say it, but what if we have to sacrifice the characters Mama is carrying in order for Fio and Lavanya to advance? It would be very Nier, and I would hate every second of it. Then we see Fio bound and then freed. I don't know what this could mean. And then we get an appearance of the girl in red. Holy crap. Her true nature is still mysterious. Is she connected to the Human Council? Is she created by the aliens? Is she connected to the administrators at the end of Replicant? And this seems to be the memory or story of the girl in red, perhaps her origin. And the lines she says here seem to say, "I lose hope again and again and again. I am alone in this void. Someone please change my fate." And one interesting thing is that as these words and letters are coming out, the pronoun for I changes from male to female in the Japanese. This might be a hint. Maybe there's a link to the Replicant administrators. There was one male, one female there. But then we end on the infamous creepy smile, and maybe that story is false? Maybe the events and hints leading up to now are false? Maybe it's the developers laughing at all of us, the users, for tricking us? But yeah, the last part should be crazy, and I'm definitely turning off comments in the time leading up to that. Okay, if you have any theories, past or future, I would be interested to hear them. Of course, if you have data mine info, I don't want to know about that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.